Hello everyone. Today's video is about breathing techniques. Well, breathing exercises and techniques. So all I'm gonna do in this video is give you guys like a basic breathing exercise and then a couple variations on that breathing exercise and leave it at that. It's already probably gonna be a little bit long, just to give you a full explanation. But there are a lot of variations you can do. I'm just going to show you the basic one and then a couple variations I recommend. So first, before we start, breathing exercises are good no matter what you play. I know sometimes percussionists are like, we don't have to breathe when we play, which you do have to breathe when you play. And then also like breathing in time is still important, which I know that these exercises don't necessarily train that. But like for percussion, oh my gosh, there's a bunny in my yard. For percussion, you still can breathe with a band as a cue, right? So when I'm going to count off or we're going to come in at the beginning of a piece, we can all be waiting. You know, my arms are out, you can't really see. And we know when to enter, right? Percussion can be a part of that as well. They should be, and as a matter of fact, to stay together. So like your breath is still an important element of your playing, just not quite to the same extent that it is for a wind player. First of all, why do we work on breathing when we're playing wind instruments? First and foremost, it's because that's what we use, right? The more control you have over your breathing and your airflow and everything, the better sound you're going to get. If you sometimes struggle with like, where do I breathe? I need to breathe somewhere in here. I can't make it this far without breathing. Doing these kinds of exercises can expand your endurance so that you can go longer without needing to breathe. That's about it pretty much. Also giving you more control over the airflow. So when you are exhaling, when you are playing, you do have a little bit more control over the velocity of your air, and which, affects like your volume and your tone quality and all that stuff. So it's important to have a good handle on your breathing beyond just passive breathing. Passive breathing, such as like when you just exist in the world and you just breathe to stay alive. So the first thing I want to say is normally I would do all of these with a metronome, but much like with my practicing videos, I don't want the metronome going the entire time I'm talking because it's on my phone. But you would do these with a metronome. I would recommend starting at maybe like 80 beats per minute. And then as you get more comfortable, slow down that tempo to maybe 60 beats per minute or whatever you're comfortable with. And also like when you're doing all of these, like be careful. We don't want you to like hyperventilate yourself or anything. So just, you know your own limits. Maybe be sitting down for some of them. So the base exercise is in and out for the same number of counts. I would start with 4, in for 4, out for 4. Couple things to keep in mind. When we breathe, especially for band, it should be more of like a circle rather than up and down, like inhale, exhale. It should be more of like a circle. It's a cycle, right? So when I'm going to inhale, I'm going to breathe in all the way to full, like my full lung capacity. And when I hit that peak, it's immediately going to begin the exhale. When I get all the way to empty, we hit that bottom peak and immediately begin inhaling again. So it shouldn't be held anywhere. You shouldn't go like we're not like holding our inhale or our exhale. We want to go in, like, constant flow. We don't want it to stop on either end of the spectrum. Think of it like a circle rather than an elevator, like a Ferris wheel instead of an elevator. So, so when we do all of these, keep that in mind. The second thing to keep in mind is any of these exercises, you want to go full to empty. We don't want to go like we don't just want to breathe in like however much you breathe in. You want it to be like all the way to full. So for example, if we're going to breathe in for 4, out for 4, you need to use all 4 counts to go all the way to full lungs and use all 4 counts exhaling all the way to empty. We shouldn't stop and like I can breathe in more there, or like you can push more air out. It should be like the extremes, full lungs, empty lungs. If you can do that and you can balance it throughout however many beats we're doing, you will need it to be in that circle pattern because you won't be able to hold it. You'll be immediately full and immediately empty. So just keep that in mind, okay? So first one we would do would be like in for 4, out for 4. You just in. and keep doing it. Personally, I find 4 to like, let me just say this. I'm working to push my air out over 4 counts. Could I exhale longer? Of course. Could I inhale longer? Of course. Or faster even. But we're trying to control that, right? To measure it out to where we go from empty to full using all 4 counts, and then of course the reverse, full to empty, using all 4 counts. Sometimes that means you're pushing your breath out because you don't normally breathe out that intensely or in or whatever, okay? So that's the basic level. Once you get super comfortable doing that, like I would put on a metronome, 80 beats per minute, in for 4, out for 4, maybe do like 6 to 8 rounds of that. Once you get comfortable, you can play around with how long. So maybe you want to try in for 8, out for 8, and that uses, of course, more control. You have to really balance out that inhale and exhale to make sure you don't end up holding your breath, right? The tendency would be to like breathe in all the way and hit full by beat 6, and then just hold your breath for the top 2 beats. That's not what we want, right? We want to measure it out to where you are actively inhaling across all 8 beats, and at the end of the 8th one, you hit your peak full lung capacity. And then, of course, the same can be said for exhaling. So, try to keep that in mind. Or you can go the opposite way and do in for 2, out for 2. Don't hyperventilate yourself. But that's more challenging than a lot of people think, because if you're going full to empty within 2 counts, that's like you're like pushing that air out. So be careful with that one, okay? And then, of course, you can always mess around with tempo as well, like slowing down the tempo, which, of course, makes those 2 beats last longer or 8 beats last longer, whatever. But that's the basic levels. In and out for the same number of beats. Just keep in mind to go all the way to empty and all the way to full and all the way to empty. And don't hold your breath at any part of it, in or out, okay? So that's the basic exercise. The first variation that I would add to that is creating some resistance and a target. So when you're playing a wind instrument, normally when you're breathing in, you have your mouthpiece on your face or in your mouth or whatever, depending on your instrument, right? Which creates resistance. You're not just taking an open breath, you are breathing in through the corners of your mouth or at least like around something, right? So a way that we can work on breathing in fully with resistance is putting your hand like this on your face when you do this same exercise, but breathing in. Let's stick with 4 and 4 for now. Of course, you can do this with any of them, but we'll just stick with that. But you would breathe in for 4 with your hand like this. I can't snap while I'm also doing this. But you breathe in for 4, and so now there's already some resistance here, right? The air has to come in from the sides of my mouth rather than just all of it. So that's going to create resistance. You still have to try to get to full. You still have to use all 4 counts, just now you're fighting against your hand a little bit. And then when you exhale, you would turn your palm to be like this, except you can put it a little further away if you want. And you would try to think of like really cold air, like a dart to the middle of your palm, right? Controlling that exhale to feel it in your palm. And it should be cold air. You'll notice like it's warm if you go versus, right? So we want that. It should feel mostly centered in your palm. And then continue working like that, playing around with how long inhale and exhale, but with the resistance now. So if you're comfortable doing just in for 8, out for 8 maybe, now try in for 8 against your hand and out for 8, trying to maintain that targeted exhale for 8 counts. So that creates, so why do we do that? Again, the resistance I already explained. The target is because when you're playing through your instrument, you need to have a really centered sound, a centered airflow to get the note in tune, right? With the right sound and the right timbre and whatever, the right tone and everything. Like you have to have a really good idea of directing your air in order to do that. So that's how you can practice that. If you feel your air, but it's all over your hand, really focus on, I'm doing like clarinet corners and everything, but focus on your how you would exhale to play. Don't actually buzz or whatever, but think about that kind of stuff. That's what this is practicing, is targeting your air through your instrument and then breathing in fully around your instrument. Last one I'm going to add is then breathing in for fewer counts than you're breathing out. So instead of in for 4, out for 4, maybe you do in for 2, out for 4. Because that will get more like what you'll probably have in band, right? Where you would breathe in maybe over a half rest and then have to play like 12 measures without another rest or something like that. So that's where you start playing around with that, is in for 2, out for 4. In for 4, out for 12. In for 2, out for 16, right? And of course, always be careful. Like the less time you give yourself to breathe in, the harder you have to fight to fill up, because the more full you get, the longer you'll be able to direct that exhale. And the more control you have, the more targeted that exhale is, the longer you should be able to sustain it, because it's not, your air isn't all leaving at once, it's leaving through a very targeted airstream. So doing all of those things, so that one you can also do with this, or you can just do in for 2, out for 4, like without resistance, if you just want to work on that. But like if you put them all together, you could go like in, 2, I can't talk and breathe at the same time, but in, 2, and then out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, however long, and target that and really try to do that a couple times. So that's like a basic exercise in breathing you can do. And then a couple variations on it. Start with just in and out for the same number of beats to get an idea of what full lungs feel like for you and what empty lungs feel like for you. Don't try to do all the other stuff until you know where your limits are, so that you know what it should feel like every time, right? When you're breathing in against your hand, you still need to feel that full lung capacity. So practice that before you worry about anything else. I'm sure you've all heard the trick, like if you lay on your back and put your hands on your stomach, when you breathe in, it should lift your hand, like your stomach should raise so that your hands get lifted. That's how you like want to breathe properly. I'm not going to do that. You guys can do that on your own if you want. But yeah, so those are some basic breathing exercises. If you guys like those and want to hear more, because of course there's more breathing exercises I can talk about, I'm happy to make more videos about those. Let me know. Or if you would like me to do a video where I like talk you through doing them, like not just showing you, but literally like I can put on a metronome and count you through, and you can then like turn on that video to do the breathing exercises along with them. Just let me know. I'm pretty much down for whatever. If you're gonna do these as a warm-up, I would do them before you play anything. Don't play scales and then do your breathing. Do your breathing first. But also you can do these like not when you're playing. If you like wanna do them before bed or right when you wake up, or maybe like as you're washing the dishes or whatever, like, you know, even if you only can't do the resistance, or even if you only go in and out for whatever, like that's better than nothing, and it will build up your lung endurance and capacity over time. So I do breathing exercises very regularly, like on my own, like just in my house. And maybe that's weird, but like, you know, I've got pretty severe asthma, and I have been told by my doctors that I have a higher lung capacity than they expected given my asthma, and I think it's because of band. So but you know, I guess I actually have no proof of that. But I think that they are beneficial. So work on your breathing. Let me know if you guys want more breathing exercises, or if you want to hear, you know, more guides through them or whatever. And I will see you, well, I guess I won't see you tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll be posting some listening recommendations. So, okay, bye.